And today, for episode 2 of the SFM Sonic tutorial series, I will be showing you the basics of animation and how to properly do one. Now that we have Tails over here posed and ready to go, cute as ever, we're going to want to make him do something, right? Well, over here he looks kind of lifeless, so it's looks a little dead. So what we're going to want to do is let's do a basic wave, like a hello wave. So what we're going to want to do is click on where it says over here in the animations editor, click entirely on modern Tails right here. This will highlight everything that's in the animations editor for Tails. So once you've clicked on that, over here you'll notice that it's like a rainbow of colors over here. This means that every single body part, every single body group for Tails is selected. So what you're going to want to do here then is press M. This will create a key point for everything of Tails that's selected at the moment. So everything that you currently have selected is going to be saved as a frame of animation. So that way it stays that way consistently. So afterwards, let's say you want to time it right. So let's skip ahead 4 jumps, or 5 jumps in this case. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Your number over here, if you selected 30 FPS, should be at 166. So after that, let's start with a small little bend right here. You want to make it look as realistic or as close to realism as possible. So his head is tilting this way. And if you notice that his eyes are kind of staying in the same position, you have to move him manually. So, and then his arm would probably be at around here. But because his hand is moving upwards, his hand would be headed downwards. Okay, so that's our first frame of animation right there. What you're going to want to do is, to save it, click entirely on Tails again and press M. This will save that keyframe animation. And if you don't want to just scroll back like that, what you can also do is you can also press the brackets. That'll switch between keyframes instantly. Okay, so once you have that saved, let's go ahead onto another keyframe. Let's make another one. Skip ahead another 5 frames. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You should now be on three threes. Let's bend him over. Let's tilt him over a little bit more. His head cocked a little bit more to the side. Up a little bit. His eyes still looking at the camera. His hand now like this, but a little bit more to the back. Tilted like that. And now, let's do that. Rotate his arm a little. His arm is headed slightly more downwards. Let's move the collar for his wrist in the same direction that his hand is. So now that we have that, let's start working on that wave for the fingers. Alright, that should be good for now. Let's see what that looks like so far. Looks kind of okay. Looks alright. So now what you're going to want to do is save that again. M. Skip another 5 frames. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You should now be on 500. So now let's do the actual wave. Keep his body at about the same, just move it a little bit more. Not much, just a little bit. But this goes forward now. So now his hand goes like this. His wrist collar goes like that. Alright, so we're back. And I've already gone and completed his hand wave gesture, so that should look like this now. Alright, there you go. So once that's done, you want to go ahead and do the back and forth thing for the wave. So this time we're only going to skip 4 frames. Now let's move his hand back like this, bend his arm like this, move his hand like that, and so. Ooh, actually we didn't save that last keyframe. Let's go ahead and do that. My mistake. Save that. Okay, so what you're going to do for this is you're going to skip ahead after this 4 frames, 5 frames after this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On the mark 800, you should move the hand back up, bend this way, move the wrist down, and move the hand this way. Alright, looks pretty fluid so far. So now let's go ahead and save that keyframe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Skip ahead another 5. And skip back down. Alright, so once you're done with that, save that keyframe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's essentially a cycle. You do this over and over again. This is essentially how the animation in SFM on the graph editor works. Alright, so that's the complete wave animation. That's the basic of it. So actually, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and go into some of the advanced properties of this. Might as well make this a little longer episode. Okay, so for this, what you're going to do is we're going to add a little bit more oomph into the animation. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and, oh, actually I didn't save that last keyframe. My bad. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to make Tails go back to his original default pose, which is this one. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on this keyframe right here, that little thing right there. You're going to click on that, copy it by pressing Control C. Now it's copied. jump back over to the last keyframe, jump ahead 6 keyframes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You should now be on 133. After that, paste it by pressing Ctrl V, and you'll see Tails is reset back to his default pose. But that seems a little too rapid. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make that transition to back to the default pose last a little longer. So in this case, you can simply drag this across time right here. You just drag that. It's a little laggy if you're dragging the whole thing. So let's put that right here. Seems to be okay. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, it looks all right. Okay. So this still looks a little bit, I don't know, it looks a little stiff if you ask me. So what we're going to do now is we're going to select Tails again, all of it. Right click right up here. A little tab should come up. Press select all. This is select all current keyframes. Now if you play the animation while it's like this, it's going to be a little laggy because it has everything selected. But the reason we're doing this is because we're going to straighten these key points. You'll notice they're a little all over the place. There's some that are going up, there's some that are going down. So we want to straighten these out to make it look a little smoother. So you're going to press on this little button right here, right next to the triangle-ish one. You're going to press that, and you'll notice everything got smoothed out. What this does is it makes the animation go by linearly, as in it makes it go frame by frame. This makes it a lot smoother in hindsight. Take a good look. This is before, and this is after. It looks a little better in my opinion. But if you'd like to keep it the other way around, you can go ahead. But there's some instances where you're going to need to do this. I'll show you when, for example. So now that we have this, his tails don't seem to be moving in the animation at all. So what you're going to want to do for this is pretty easy to do. Skip over to, in this case, let's do 5. Let's pose his tail in a different position. Let's do like this. And this can stay this way. But you'll notice that it sort of just spikes up over here. That's because since we were selecting all of his keyframes, it saved his default position into every single one of these frames. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to erase this one, but we only have this part of his tail selected. So you're going to want to scroll down all the way onto unknown. Locate his tail groups over here. Press Control, and you can multiply select other objects. You can basically group select. Now you can erase this one and this one. This one, and we're going to keep that one and this one. There we go. Now we only have 3 frames selected for that. So the way his tails move, there we go, looks a little better, but it's still kind of janky. So what we're going to want to do is scroll over to the last keyframe, reselect that, put this all the way up to 1.5. Looks pretty good. But what we're going to want to do is not quite this yet. Go ahead and select all the keyframes for his tails. Select all. And now you use the straightening tool. Looks a lot smoother now, doesn't it? Let's see how it looks back in playback. Now that's just the basics. You can mess around with his tails actually quite a lot. You can actually make them move a lot more smoothly if you do more keyframes in between of them, like pose by pose. So now you may be wondering, well, his ears and his hair has bones to them. Can I move those too? The answer is yes, you can. And actually, we're going to do that to create a more realistic feeling. So you're going to skip to the point where it looks as if his ears, actually, what you're going to want to do first is select his ears, all 3 of his hairs, his whiskers, and that should be about it. Go ahead and select all and delete. What we're going to do here is a little bit complicated, but it should work. Actually, I don't think I selected. Okay. Yeah, I knew I did something wrong. There we go. So now that we have everything reset, we're gonna do this manually. Go to a point where you think Tails' ears would be really bent. In this case, this. Let's move his ear this way. This one this way, so it's in that direction. Since his hair is kind of straight at the moment, let's move it downwards and this way. Same with this one just a little bit, but this way as well. So let's rotate it this way. It's the same way. But now his hair's a little messed up. This is easy to fix. Set a keyframe for these 4. And now, default. Now it looks okay, doesn't it? But it still needs some work. So what you're going to want to do is straight line this. It looks all right now, but it's still a little too not incomplete. So skip over to somewhere where you think his his hair and his ears would kind of settle down. In this case, that would probably be around the point where he stops moving. So right here. Now, to create a little bounce effect, move his ears over to the right this time. Just a little bit, not much. Set his hair back to default. But this time, move his hair slightly to the left. To the right, I mean. Now that's a really steep jump, ain't it? Well, there's a reason for that. It's because I messed up. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to set that over to 0.5. So now at 0.9, everything will go back to default. Actually, I didn't set that properly. Damn it. Now it's barely noticeable, but it does sort of pop out when you look at them closely. So there's like a little bounce effect there. So that's that. Okay. So for the whiskers, what you're going to want to do is every 4 frames, or no, every 5 frames, give them a new keyframe. So in this case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's go ahead and Alright, so now we're going to make Tails blink because we can't just have him staring at us like that, even though it's kind of adorable. Okay, so to make him blink properly, we're going to want to set a couple keyframes first. Go ahead and select, group select his eyelids. All of it. There we go. Set a keyframe from over here. Now what we're going to do is every 5 frames, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the next 3 frames will be a blinking frame. So 1, 2, 3. Set down is eyelid open first. Oh wait, no, eyelid open second, my bad. Set it to about here. Afterwards, keep doing it. 1, 2, 3. And delete this keyframe actually. Now close his eyelids completely. Set a keyframe. So now what it should look like is this. Alright, there we go. Alright, so now, after that last blinking frame, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so opening his eyes takes 4 keyframes. Remember that. Skip over the next initial one. 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, I think that's what it was. And then 1, 2, 3. Keyframe. Erase this one then. Actually, that's, the tails bugged me a lot, the way they move. Okay, and sorry for the long episode. I'll try and keep these under 15 minutes, but I kind of got really into animating this. So next episode, we're going to be covering lighting. Lighting is going to be especially tricky if you don't know how to do it properly, and, you know, lighting is just one of those things that you can mess around with, really. So I was a little bit mistaken when I said if you don't do it properly, you can really just fiddle around with it. All right, so next time we meet, we'll be covering lighting basics. I'll see you guys next time.